No records tell how or when London fell into Saxon hands, but it was still, or had once again become, a city of great importance by 597, when Pope Gregory I sent St. Augustine to England from Rome. Aethelbert was the son and successor of Ermenric, King of Kent, and the great-grandson of Hengist, the first of the Saxon conquerors of Britain. He reigned for 56 years, and he even gained over all the other Saxon kings and princes the title of Bretwalder, or Chief of the Saxons. Aethelbert converted to Christianity after the arrival of St. Augustine and his missionaries sent from Rome by Gregory the Great. These men landed first on the Isle of Thanet in Kent, and they sent a message to King Aethelbert saying why they had come into his land. And Aethelbert gave orders that they should be well taken care of, and after a few days he came to see them at the isle and sat under an oak tree and received them in the open air. And the reason for receiving them outside is the superstitions of the time. He thought they might be wizards or something that would come to cast a charm or spell on him, and these spells don't work outside apparently. St. Augustine and his missionaries came carrying a silver cross and a picture of Christ painted on a wooden panel, and they were chanting hymns which they'd learnt from Gregory in Rome, the father of religious music. Augustine was said to be taller than any of the people from his shoulders and upwards. The king and a great number of his followers had them sit down before him, and after having listened to them, he gave them an answer. He said, "You make fair speeches and promises, but all this is new to me and uncertain. I cannot all at once put faith in what you tell me and abandon all that I, with my whole nation, have for so long a time held sacred." And King Aethelbert said to them, he said he could see that they'd come from so far away, and from what he could tell, they believed what they were saying to be the truth and supreme good. So he said he wouldn't do them any harm, and on the contrary, he'd show them all the hospitality and take care to furnish them with the means of living, and they wouldn't hinder them from preaching their religion, and said that they can convert who they could. So Aethelbert gave them a house to live in the royal city of Canterbury, and he let them preach openly to the people, and he quickly brought some of them over to the faith, and they were moved by the innocence of their lives and the sweetness of their heavenly doctrine, which was confirmed by miracles. They were given, as Bede tells us, the church of St. Martin, in which to sing, to pray, to say mass, and to preach and baptise. But it was not long before the king also submitted to them and was baptised. Before the year was out, there was added to the church more than 10,000 souls. In the year AD 597, the Kentish king entered into the unity of the Holy Church, and since the conversion of Constantine, there had not been any event of greater moment in the annals of Christendom. The king told Augustine and his companions that they might build new churches and repair the old ones which Christians had used before the Saxons invaded England. From the time of his conversion, Aethelbert behaved for the 20 remaining years of his life as a good king and a good Christian. He gave his royal palace in Canterbury for the use of the Archbishop, founded Christ Church Cathedral in Canterbury, St. Andrew's in Rochester, and St. Paul's in London. He built and endowed the Abbey and Church of St. Augustine's, and he was instrumental in bringing over to the faith of Christ Sebert, king of the East Saxons, with his people, and Redwald, king of East Anglia. The former remained true to Christ till his death, but Redwall returned, at least in part, to the worship of Thor and Woden. Aethelbert's wife was Bertha, daughter of Cherubim, the king of Paris, and she was a Christian princess, and married Aethelbert while he was still a pagan. Bertha restored an old Roman Christian church in Canterbury, dedicating it to St. Martin, It was the private chapel of Queen Bertha before Augustine arrived from Rome. History records the gentle and lovable virtues of Queen Bertha, but very little is known about her life. Her Christian faith probably had an effect on King Aethelbert though. Queen Bertha died in AD 612 and the king soon remarried. Bertha was canonised as a saint for her role in the church's establishment during that period of English history. Aethelbert left a written code of laws for Kent, the earliest in any Anglo-Saxon kingdom, and it provided for the protection of the church, exacting a high compensation for damage to any churches. He also set down in writing a code of laws, and although it reflects Christian influence, the system underlying the laws was already old, brought over from the continent. The strongest social bond of this system was that of kinship. Every free man depended on his kindred for protection, and the social classes were distinguished by the amount of wergild, as the sum that the family would accept, family member that might be killed. So according to the English historian and theologian Bede, his kingdom included all of England south of the Humber. Probably only occurred at the end of his reign. King Aethelbert died in the year 616 and was venerated unofficially at Canterbury. Aethelbert was later regarded as a saint for his role in establishing Christianity among the Anglo-Saxons. His feast day is the 25th of February, and he is listed under his date of death, 24th of February, with the citation, King of Kent, converted by St. Augustine, Bishop, the first leader of the English people to do so. Aethelbert was succeeded by his son Eadbald, who was not a Christian. Bede says that he had been converted but went back to his pagan faith, although he ultimately did become a Christian king. Eadbald outraged the church by marrying his stepmother and also by refusing to accept baptism. Sabert of the East Saxons also died about the same sort of time, and he was succeeded by his 3 sons, none of whom were Christian. A subsequent revolt against Christianity and the expulsion of the missionaries from Kent may have been a reaction to Kentish overlord after Aethelbert's death. Well, I hope that was reasonably interesting. I'll leave some links in the comments, and thank you for listening.